Well, thank you, and good afternoon. Thank you, Karen, for the very kind introduction, and for your leadership and friendship and amazing support at the food bank over the years. Thank you to John Carroll University, my alma mater, for inviting me to speak. Thank you to the Jesuit Friends and Alumni Network and the Loyola Club for having me here today. And thanks to all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. It is an honor to be with you today. I learned the Jesuit value of service to others when I was still young. I grew up in a family of volunteers. I went to St. Paul Catholic School in Westerville, Ohio, and my parents were very involved in the parish. I have many memories of church breakfasts after Mass and family movie nights in the church hall, and my parents were always helping, and I was right there with them. Sometimes I volunteered, sometimes I was voluntold, but I learned some unique skills along the way. I knew how to use the production-size popcorn maker in the church basement while I was still in elementary school. I was very proud. In 8th grade, I had a service requirement as part of my confirmation preparation, and I reached out to a small nursing home in town. A small group of us 8th grade girls were put in charge of planning a party for the residents. And it felt like a really big deal. It actually was a really big deal at the time. We were responsible for the food and the activities, and I remember many hours spent hunched over my mother's sewing machine, making a lap quilt out of donated fabric as a raffle prize. Turns out the party was a hit. The raffle winner loved her lap quilt. She was over the moon, and I was hooked. I kept volunteering there. Well after my hours were met, and as a very awkward 13-year-old, I discovered that volunteering made me feel good. And as it turns out, there is data to back this up. A study by Wake Forest University found that volunteering is associated with increased levels of happiness, lower depression, and it's even associated with better physical health. But all I knew at the time was that the residents lit up when I walked into their rooms. They were kind, and that they made me feel very special. Now, as it turns out, when she's home from college, my oldest daughter works at a wonderful nursing home in Lakewood called Ennis Court. And I have come to the conclusion that there is no better way to learn about life than to work at a nursing home. In so many ways, she is wise beyond her years. But I digress. I came to Cleveland to attend college at John Carroll. I became involved in a local service sorority, and I was very excited when another student named Joe Simperman started a student service organization on campus called Project Gold. I had the opportunity to go on a spring break service trip to a Catholic worker farm in West Virginia, and to get back to volunteering on a more regular basis. I distinctly remember telling a friend while walking across campus, and I think it might be my friend Donna, one of my dearest friends to this day, who's in the room in the back, but I remember telling a friend while walking across campus that I was convinced that Joe Simperman was going to be either a priest or the president, and I didn't know which, but I knew it was going to happen. And today, after years of service on Cleveland City Council, he is president of Global Cleveland, and I think he does a little bit of both. For those of you who are not familiar, Global Cleveland is a nonprofit organization dedicated to growing our economy by welcoming and connecting international people to opportunities and to fostering a more inviting community for those seeking a place to call home. Isn't that beautiful? In his free time, he volunteers for the food bank, and he is with us today. Joe, can you raise your hand to be recognized? In college, as part of Project Gold, I took a group of students every Saturday morning to St. Herman's House of Hospitality in the John Carroll van to make and serve lunch and to hang out with the residents. Now, it was not always easy to get college students up early on a Saturday morning, but thankfully, there was one student who would always go along. His name was Kristin, and he is my husband of 29 years. As it turns out, he was a keeper. And he still comes along. Sometimes he volunteers, and sometimes he's voluntold. And I am grateful for both. My experience at St. Herman's changed me, and not just because of my now partner in crime. I worked alongside a deaf and mute monk named Brother Ernest. He had so little. He slept on a cot in the basement of St. Herman's, and yet he had a smile that would light up the entire building. I heard the stories of homeless men that I will never forget, and while I was at John Carroll, I learned that I wanted a career in the nonprofit sector. It is a privilege to have had the chance to do that. My first job out of school was working at the Harvest for Hunger campaign, then on to the American Red Cross, focused on disaster relief, and now at the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. In hindsight, I can see even more clearly, personally and with the wonderful volunteers who support our work, the Jesuit teachings of volunteering for and with others as a path to social justice, personal growth, and spiritual transformation. Today and every day, when I walk into the Greater Cleveland Food Bank, I am surrounded by colleagues, volunteers, donors, and partner agencies who are so deeply committed to serving our neighbors in need. And to me, that is a gift. A gift to not only help people, struggling families, put food on the table, but also to work alongside such compassionate, dedicated human beings. Hunger relief requires a community-wide effort. We do this work in partnership with staff and volunteers who lead more than 1,000 partner programs across 6 counties, with food and financial donors who keep our partner distribution hub full of nutritious food, ready for distribution, and with volunteers who provide support in every area of our operation. Some of these volunteers are students, high schoolers, and college students who are given the gift of service by their educators, as I was. Some are retirees, putting in countless hours to serve our community. Together, we're providing more than 50 million meals a year in Northeast Ohio. We do this work in partnership with our elected officials who support our work through legislation and sometimes roll up their sleeves literally to help distribute food, and with so many others. It truly takes a village to do what we do. Can I ask everyone in the room who has donated, volunteered, or helped in some way at one of our facilities or at one of our partner agencies to please stand? Come on, I know you're out there. I know you're out there. Yes, please join me in giving them a round of applause. I want to pause here and say something very clearly. We could not do what we do without you. Volunteers are at the heart of every single part of our work. In the past year alone, more than 16,000 people gave over 108,000 hours of their time to the food bank. If we had to pay for that time, it would add up to more than $3 million in salaries and benefits. Instead, that savings allowed us to provide more food to our partner agencies and to the neighbors who need us. Our volunteer to staff ratio at the food bank is almost 90-1. And the volunteers who serve are remarkable. They collect, sort, and repackage donated food at our partner distribution hub. They prepare hot, nutritious meals in our production kitchen for children and seniors. They help our neighbors shop with dignity at our community resource center. And they use special skills from finance to IT to marketing to help strengthen our work through committee service. They lead our organization by serving on our board of directors. And I am so glad to have a couple of our dedicated board members here with us today. Can you raise your hands to be recognized? Come on, there you go, come on. They are very modest. But it doesn't stop there. What is even more amazing is that when I am counting the 16,000 volunteers who help at the food bank every year, I am not counting the volunteers who run and support our partner agencies, the majority of whom have no paid staff. More than 60% of our partner food pantries and hot meal sites are entirely volunteer-run. They're housed at churches, community centers, senior centers, and schools, and operated by people serving out of love, often on limited budgets, but with limitless compassion. They are truly on the front lines in our fight against hunger. The food bank was founded in 1979 when a nun named Sister Henrietta, who didn't have enough food for the people that she knew needed help, came together with members of the food industry who had food to spare. Now, while the food bank is not a religious organization, it is amazing to learn of the number of food banks across the country who were started by a nun. We are certainly not alone. One of our very first partner programs in our first year of service was the Westside Catholic Center, and they are still a partner today. Barb and Patrick are here from the Westside Catholic Center. So, I might add, is St. Herman's House of Hospitality, and one of our very largest food pantries in terms of pounds of food distributed, and this might catch you by surprise, is St. Gabe's Church in the suburbs of Lake County. Thank you, Paul and Pam, for your service. Nearly 400 of our 1,000 partners are faith-based in nature, and 67 of them are affiliated with the Diocese of Cleveland and Catholic Charities. These partnerships have been vital for decades, and they remind us that serving the hungry is not just charity. It is a calling rooted in faith and justice. How do we do this? Well, the food bank operates a 197,000 square foot partner distribution hub on Coit Road in the Collinwood Yards neighborhood of Cleveland. Our facility has both dry and cold storage. We distributed more than 23 million pounds of free fresh produce last year. And a production kitchen where we prepare up to 10,000 meals a day for after school and summer meal programs in senior centers. Our partner distribution hub was completed in late 2022 and built and furnished with extraordinary generosity from our community. To our donors in the room, I thank you. It is the main space from which we serve our partner agencies. In 2023, we opened our first community resource center on South Waterloo Road, right off of I-90 at the East 152nd Street exit. It houses a large-scale choice food pantry that looks like a supermarket, where neighbors under 200% of poverty, that's $43,000 or less for a family of two, can choose groceries for their household. It's open 5 days a week and every other Saturday, including some evening hours. But what makes the place really special is that we have 17 other nonprofit partners on site, providing additional services to address the underlying causes of food insecurity, such as employment, housing, or healthcare issues, as well as other challenges that people face. In our most recent fiscal year, we've served over 50,000 unique individuals at the Community Resource Center and made more than 20,000 connections to these other on-site partners. It's already becoming seen as a national model for addressing food insecurity in both the short and the long term. The Greater Cleveland Food Bank is also part of something larger than ourselves. And I'm not just talking about our mission. We're one of 199 food banks nationwide in the Feeding America network. Together, we serve every county in the United States of America. Here in Ohio, we work alongside other Feeding America food banks as well. Separate nonprofits, each with our own approach, but united in our mission to end hunger. We learn from one another, share resources, and find strength in that collaboration. And all of this work, of course, is on behalf of the struggling families, seniors, and children we collectively serve. Their numbers have grown significantly in recent years. In 2019, we worked with our partner agencies to provide food to more than 300,000 individuals. This year, we serve more than 400,000 neighbors, even more than we served during the pandemic. Many people have never needed food assistance before. Together, we serve more than 1 in 5 residents in our 6-county service area. Let that sink in. Last year, the food bank and our partner agencies served more than 1 in 5 Northeast Ohioans at some point during the year. This is about 22% of the population in our 6-county service area. Our service area goes all the way east to Ashtabula County and south to Richland County. Food insecurity is not just a city problem. Food insecurity is everywhere. It's in the suburbs, and it's in rural areas too. Behind the statistics are families trying to balance rent, utilities, childcare, medical bills, and, of course, groceries. It is only getting harder. Parents skipping meals so their kids can eat, seniors choosing between paying for their prescriptions or paying for food. Nationally, the fastest growing group of recipients at food pantries is working families. And in my 25 years of food banking, the number of seniors we serve seems like it increases every year. 2025 financial wellness study by PNC Bank found that 67% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That's up from 63% in 2024. Everything feels more expensive because it is. The cost of food is up 25% from 2020. According to the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies, rents nationwide are up 26% in the same period. Whenever I have the chance, I try to connect with the neighbors we serve. In the past 6 months, I've met Rosemary, a 75-year-old woman who worked her whole life as a chef in kitchens and in college cafeterias. She moved to Cleveland after her home was destroyed in a hurricane in Florida. She told me that she survives on Social Security, Medicaid, and SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. And she told me that she's scared about how she's going to get by. While we talked, she rested her food pantry groceries in her walker. And she told me about the part-time job she had just picked up at Walmart to try to make ends meet. Then there was Angie, who works for a well-known social service agency in town. She connects their clients to services to provide them with more stability. And while she's doing that, she's taking care of her own 2 kids, her aging parents, and her college-age brother, who just moved in with her. After months of referring her clients to our community resource center, she realized that she was eligible for help too, and that she needed it. She came after work, and it was her first time ever visiting a food pantry. In the last few weeks, I've met a middle-aged man who came after his shift working in an East Side warehouse, and a mom who works at a nursing home in North Olmsted, who has 6 kids, including one in Catholic high school. I wish that none of them needed a food pantry, that their pay or income was enough to cover all of their expenses. But for far too many, the math just isn't working. And so we push on with community support in uncertain times to make sure that nutritious food is available to our partners and to the neighbors we collectively serve. Our board just approved a new 3-year strategic plan. The plan builds on our history, and it also looks ahead. Our new mission statement says it best. Together with our community, we provide nutritious food and essential resources so our neighbors facing hunger can thrive. So what does that look like in practice? It looks like strengthening our role as a steady, reliable source of healthy food and support to our partners and our community, even in the face of reduced funding for vital federal and state nutrition programs. It's about addressing hunger today by providing more than 54 million pounds of food annually through our network of 1,000 program partners. It means finding solutions to make up for reduced food from the state and federal food programs. It means working to fill the gap, and we are grateful to our food and financial donors for their help. It means ensuring that at least 75% of the food that we distribute is nutritious, because our mission is about more than filling plates. It's about fueling health. Our plan's about addressing hunger tomorrow by helping income-eligible families connect to the support that they need. We'll help local families and seniors make 35,000 connections to SNAP, Medicaid, and other benefits a year, and we'll support them throughout the process, answering questions all along the way. These programs are a critical bridge, helping people move beyond crisis and toward stability. It means addressing hunger for a lifetime by building long-term solutions at our community resource centers, the first at South Waterloo, and a new location on the west side, opening early in 2027. These spaces provide not just food, but also job training, healthcare connections, financial coaching, and more all provided by partners in hopes of helping people move beyond hunger for good. The plan is also designed to be flexible, to respond to new challenges and new opportunities, while supporting our partners and our team and giving them the tools to succeed. In short, this plan strengthens our dedication to ending hunger today, tomorrow, and for a lifetime. But we cannot do it without our community. Because behind every number is a neighbor. A child who can focus in school because they had breakfast. A senior who doesn't have to choose between food and medicine. A parent who can put dinner on the table and breathe a little easier. Struggling families are all around us. Early in my tenure as CEO, I stopped by a Saturday morning distribution at a church in Lakewood to see how things were going and to thank the team who was running the site. There were a lot of familiar faces there, including 2 women who had worked at the daycare center where my girls had been when they were young. I saw them coming from across the parking lot, ran up to greet them, and asked if they were there to volunteer. They weren't. They were there for food. A widow and a single mom, both trying to make ends meet, working full-time as daycare teachers, rocking babies like my daughter Ryan, who is now in high school and who's with us today. And they were standing in line for free fresh produce on a Saturday morning. Thank God we were there, all of us. Together with your support, we can build a community where no one goes hungry. A community where compassion, justice, and service shine through in how we care for one another. I close with a challenge for you. You've all made time to be with us today. I ask you to make a little more time to bring these Jesuit values to life for your family, for your friends, or for your organization. Make a contribution to a charity you believe in. Find time to volunteer to help someone who is less fortunate, or advocate for an organization or service that is important to you. Share your own story. Our community needs your support. And as Tina said, at the food bank, we're going to make it really easy for you. No research needed. The JFAN Loyola Group has booked a shift volunteering at our partner distribution hub on Wednesday, January 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. in our repack room. You can register today by aiming your phone camera at the QR code on your table. We're going to make it as easy as possible for you. And I promise you will feel good when you're done volunteering. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for caring. And thank you for walking alongside us on this mission to end hunger, one meal at a time. Tina?
Thank you, Kristin. We just have a few minutes for Q&A, and then I'll wrap it up. But any thoughts or questions for Kristin?
In tough economic times, you see more constituents visiting your food banks and services. Do you see more people also stepping up to volunteer in a way to support that, where they may not have the financial means to do so, but they can put in the time and treasure to be able to be a part of it?
Oftentimes we do, and we are so grateful. We live in a very generous community, generous with time, talent, and treasure. And so usually when we send the word out that we absolutely need volunteers, and we absolutely need volunteers, folks respond. And we often see people respond generously with gifts as well. in challenging times. And we couldn't do what we do without that support. Thanks, Nora.
I have one. You talked about the grocery store and the services that you provide, the other additional services.
Yeah.
Can you think of ways that we as professionals can get involved in that specific effort?
Absolutely. There are a lot of different ways that volunteers help us at the food bank. One of the newer volunteer assignments, and I think one of the favorite volunteer assignments now, is helping neighbors shop at our community resource center. The food pantry at our community resource center looks like a small grocery store. Folks can come in, they can push a grocery cart, and they can select the food that they want for their families. There is a lot of dignity in being able to choose the items that your kids will enjoy, that your family will eat, that are culturally appropriate. And we really need volunteers to help us. Volunteers help check people in. They help stock the shelves. And they actually help people shop. We have a lot of first-timers who aren't quite sure how that all works. And the other thing that volunteers can do while they're helping someone shop is they can remind people or let people know about all of the other wonderful organizations on site. I will tell you, when I have a moment, I sometimes, and we're backed up, I'll jump in and help people shop. And so, a couple of weeks ago, I did that with an elderly man named James. He was disabled, and he had just gone back to school. He was so proud to get his broadcasting license. He had the most beautiful voice. And we had a little extra time together because he was waiting for a special bus to pick him up. James can't drive. And I asked him, he was new, the Community Resource Center. I asked him if he knew that we had Towards Employment and Ohio Means Jobs there as partners, because he's looking for a job in broadcasting. And he had no idea. And since then, he's connected with Towards Employment. He's now participating in their orientation process. He's met with a caseworker. He took a digital class from Digital C at our Community Resource Center. And he called me yesterday. And he's on his way. And that experience is such a powerful experience. I wish everyone in our community had the chance to have that experience. My older daughter, who is not here, she's a student at the University of Dayton. When she came home for holiday break last year, she came to volunteer, and she helped people shop. And at the end of her shift, she'd been hearing me talk about this place quite a lot. I said, so what was the biggest surprise? And she said, the number of people who hugged me when we were done shopping. What a special thing, right? And what special people we get to serve.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Is there one back here? I think I see a hand over there. Oh, a couple hands. Cool.
Kristin, I love the way you wove together your calling from childhood to feed the hungry, how the dots you connected and how that just lives in you. But I have a question. I think many of us know that 4,000 refugees in Cuyahoga County lose SNAP benefits November 1st. Mm-hmm. And when we think of the years of suffering you took just to get here, and now this, what is it that you do, or what is it that we can do to somehow help with that?
Thank you for that question. Yes, we are very concerned about the legal immigrants who will lose their SNAP on November 1st. We've been collaborating with Loyola Cleveland and a refugee assistance network to try to make sure that people have access to food. We're working with an organization called Resource Cleveland to identify particular neighborhoods where we expect there will be additional demand. They're neighborhoods who are well known to some of our nonprofit partners and to Joe. And we're going to provide a list of all of our partner agencies in those neighborhoods. We're also going to make sure that our agencies know that we will make sure that there is food available, whether that means an extra order or an extra delivery or extra support in other ways, because no one in our community should go hungry. There are certainly other people who will lose benefits as well because of some of the changes that we're seeing. into one big, beautiful bill. But it is immigrants who are losing them first. Thank you for that question.
Kristin, well, first of all, public service announcement, shopping with the neighbors is wonderful. I highly encourage it.
Thank you, Marianne.
You mentioned briefly, but when I have been there, I've met people from different states, California, New Orleans last week, I think, from different food banks around the country. And you said we're becoming a national model. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we're part of a National Association of Food Banks, 200 strong. We get together and we learn from each other. We were talking about, and I should say, this Community Resource Center was a build on some other ideas we saw in other parts of the country. When we were designing our new partner distribution hub, we knew that there were a number of neighborhoods that were very underserved, and we decided we wanted to open a food bank-run food pantry, and so we went to see some other food banks who were doing that. At a couple of the food banks, we saw a food bank-run food pantry where they had another partner or two who was coming in to provide service. And we realized that in a community like Cleveland, with as much need as we have, and also with as many wonderful nonprofit partners as we have, that we could do something really special. We also had a large space in the form of our former partner distribution hub. And so that's how we got started, and that's how we grew to 17 other nonprofit partners on site. Last year at a Feeding America conference, we were getting so many questions about the Community Resource Center that Feeding America staff suggested we host a convening. And truthfully, I thought we'd get, 5 or 6 other food banks, and they'd come for a tour, and we'd go out to dinner, and they'd fly home the next day. And we had 54 other food banks who came in from all over the country, who were very interested in the model. The Tampa Food Bank has already opened a Community Resource Center, which we are delighted by, and other food banks are considering the same. And, it's just such a wonderful way to collaborate and, frankly, to make life easier for people who are in need, because hunger is a symptom of another problem. And until the employment issue is fixed, or the healthcare issue is fixed, or the housing issue is fixed, it can be very, very hard for someone to pull themselves out of food insecurity. Thanks, Marianne, for the question.
All right, thank you, Kristin.